Welcome to It Happened on the Job. This is episode 27, our podcast for relatable conversations with contractors, hopefully bringing a little bit of entertainment to your day. With us today, I haven't introduced us in a while. Do you realize that?
No.
Anyway,
You're
for
forgetting
the people,
me.
my name is Mike Fisher. With me, as always, Brian Summers.
How's it going?
With us today, we got Glenn Todd Construction Services. How you doing this morning, Glenn?
Doing well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Very good, Glenn. Well, hey, give us a breakdown of who you are and how you started your company, or at least how you got started in the business.
Sure. Well, Todd Construction Services started 1977 by my father. It was actually Jim Todd and Associates. Apparently, I was one of the associates.
Were you the associate, or were there other associates?
I think I was the associate.
All right.
I started working for my dad weekends, holidays, summer vacation. Gosh, I was 13 years old and went full time right out of high school. 17 years old, worked for my dad. Oh my gosh, worked my butt off for my dad. And it was in the food industry. My dad's work was mainly in the meat industry, installing equipment, repairing equipment, what have you. And how the construction portion grew was as the equipment grew, or as companies needed to rearrange their processing equipment. So we would build a wall, we would add on a room, and so then the contractor's license came into play in 1984. And I worked for my dad right up until I was 29. My dad passed away early. I took over the business. I changed the name. A couple of years later, I changed the name from Jim Todd and Associates to Todd Construction Services. It was interesting because even years after my father had passed away, people would call and ask for Jim. You know, they just spoke to him yesterday, and I said, boy, that must have been a long distance call. And so I changed it to Todd Construction Services. And so I've owned it since I was 29, and I'm 61 today. So I've owned it a lot of years.
Wow.
Very good. Very
good.
good.
Yeah.
Was it one of those things where he pulled you in and you started working for him, or was it something where, you felt kind of a calling, or he paid you a lot of money, or did he beat you down and make you come in?
Not at all. First, the construction industry, for me, and I don't know much outside of the construction industry, very gratifying that you get to bring all these materials together, and when you're done, you've built something. You've built something of value for somebody else. And so I've never looked back. I've never woke up in the morning going, God, I've got to go to work.
Right.
Yeah. And so what a blessing that is, of being able to enjoy what you do.
Right.
And so I took the company from I think my dad's biggest year at the time was probably about $400,000 a year in sales. Of course, that's back when a handshake was a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I grew it to what it is today, which I owe more money than my dad ever made. But it's still the food industry. So my business is very much a niche. So we build for the Farmer John's, Vandy Kamps, Zacky Farms, Tyson's, all your big food processors.
Right.
So the manufacturer processor more than the retailer or restaurant side?
It's the companies that supply to the restaurant side, the companies that supply to the grocery stores. So I don't build the restaurants.
Right.
I don't build the grocery stores, but I build the big distribution centers and the big food processors that do supply those stores.
And are you guys self-performing a lot of that work, or because we actually just had a guy on a couple weeks ago, Vince Free.
Yeah.
I know Vince. Vince and I are friends.
Oh, okay. So do you use a company like him, or do you guys actually do that thermal envelope as well?
10 years ago, up till about 10 years ago, we used to self-perform. The days of having 90 employees, and you're not just at that point, you're not just a contractor, you're also a marriage counselor, you're a drug and alcohol counselor, And so it got to a point that I made a decision to move into the construction management. And so in-house here, we have our estimators, we have our design, because we don't just construct, we also design and build.
Okay.
And so my group now is really from my project superintendents, my project managers, my estimators, my sales, and my office staff. And it's a group of, it'll range from 12 to 18, 20 employees. And I sub everything out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Vince does, I like the guy, great company, great individual. And so we're working on a couple of projects that I'll bring him in as the thermal contractor.
Very cool. Yeah, that's funny. Small world, man. Small world.
It really is, huh?
That teaches you not to burn bridges, right?
Nope. And that's really Todd Construction Services. And one of our slogans is building relationships through service.
Yeah.
That's our motto. I don't want to burn bridges behind me. I want to build relationships. And so most of my customers I've had for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
It's nice. So we, because we specialize in that industry and we do the design work. So it's not just dealing with building codes. It's not just dealing with cities. We're also deal with the USDA. We also deal with the health department. So the people in my company, because we do the design work, we also are, some of the training that I have my staff go through is what's called HACCP training, HACCP. And what that stands for is hazard awareness and critical control points. And that's in the food industry of how they, yes, it's how they control everything in the food industry from farm to fork. So everything from that cow on the ranch all the way to it sitting as a steak on your table. And we are HACCP certified. We are also SQF accredited, which is Safe Quality Foods. So when we're designing and we're building, including our subcontractors, it's important that our means and methods, our material selections are all geared towards what's best for a food processing environment, the most sanitary procedures and cleanability and wash down environments and stuff. So it's a niche that has always done us very well.
Yeah, it's funny. I was telling Vince when he was here, I come from a restaurant management background. I've been in the restaurant business for probably 15 or 16 years total.
That's a tough business.
Yeah. No, I like this position where I'm sitting right now a lot better.
That's a tough business.
There's a reason why I'm sitting here and not there. But to that point, during that management portion, there were multiple times where we got to go. And I mean, I managed a steakhouse, so we got to go to like our meat processing plant. And so when you see something like that, and obviously I didn't have this awareness back then, but when you look back now with the, my knowledge and what I know about contractors now, it's a totally different animal. And I mean,
yes.
I'm just speaking to your point. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but that building and to your point with those special materials and everything else, that make sure that all that stuff is done safely and
Yep. And we do a lot. We do a lot for like the airline industry, the hot kitchens.
Oh yeah.
We've built for Gate Gourmet, Flying Foods, LSG Sky Chef. And so the nice part about working in the food industry or building in the food industry is it's pretty recession proof.
Right.
People still got to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually been quite interesting when times have been tough over the years. There's two industries that do very well. One of them is the entertainment industry and the other is the food industry. And it's a way that people cope with their feelings. They, let's go to a movie and just kind of detox from all the stress going on.
Right.
And let's fill our stomachs full of food. And so even during the worst of times, we've never been out of work.
So I'm going to go back a little bit because I got a question for you from when you first started. Probably the most important question of the day. So we got to make sure we mark this one. This is huge.
Drum roll.
When you were 13 years old, did you get a business card that said associate?
No, but I did get handed a shovel.
I mean, I had to know if you if you were the only one in middle school walking around with a business card that said.
Well, I think it was actually ASS. Period.
He just abbreviated it for you, huh?
Put you in your place, right?
Right. Yep. But the cool part about it is whether it's plumbing, whether it's electrical, whether it's digging a trench, whether it's pouring concrete and finishing concrete, I've done it. And so even when I had all my own employees, I never asked anybody to do anything I hadn't done.
Right.
And so I didn't learn it in a book. I learned it in the field.
So, I mean, it's definitely, there's a difference in managing, that 90 employee self-performing almost everything versus, subbing everything out. And each comes with its own challenges. So kind of speak to that process or what it's like having to manage those subcontractors and, whether or not you have specific ones you're looking for or that you try and build relationships with, or what that process is like managing a subcontractor to make sure that they're meeting because at the end of the day it's your name that's on the line, right? I mean,
it is. But the old story is I'm also only as good as the people I surround myself with. And it's been years. It's been a process. For instance, when we worked local here, I have 3 plumbers, 3 electricians, 3 concrete contractors, 3 demo contractors, and I'll put it out for multiple bids because that's what my clients want me to do, get multiple bids. But they already know what we expect. In other words, we've already been through the dress rehearsal. We've already gone past the learning curve.
Right.
And so it's pretty easy, although we do write specs as far as, whether it's finishes, doors, floors, walls, ceilings, lighting, refrigeration, what have you. We will write the specs. My superintendent's job is obviously to make sure that those are met. Now, when we step out of California and we step into, and we've worked all over the country, we want to use local contractors to the area because when we're gone, it's the local plumber that worked on the job or the local electrician that's going to be servicing them. Right. And so then we have a little bit more of a learning process. And so over the years, what we've done is we've put together our standard operating procedures. We have a playbook, and the playbook goes to the subcontractors to pre-qualify them. Because, we can't just hire a residential contractor. We can't just hire a contractor that's used to working in a commercial strip mall type of environment. It takes a contractor that has knowledge of food grade equipment, sealed, closed, gasketed, watertight, vapor-proof light fixtures. And so we, over the years, have developed a playbook. And so once we have pre-qualified the subcontractors, they get our playbook, they go through it, they know what we expect.
How often are you getting somebody after you send them that playbook? Are they coming to you and saying, "Hey, look, Glenn, this is, kind of over our head. We're not." I mean, I can't imagine that contractors are one to be, self-admitting any weakness, but I guess.
Well, but I have a lot of respect for those that do say, "Hey, dude, that's over my head."
Right.
So it happens, and it really depends on what state. Southern states where the rules are a little different. We've done a lot of work in Louisiana, and so what they're used to working with, and even the resources that they have available there, sometimes they have to step out of their go-to to be able to meet some of our needs.
Right.
If you could maybe kind of we'll go backwards again and kind of talk about.
I'm used to that.
You said your dad had built a $400,000 a year company, right? And so a lot of the listeners that we have are smaller contractors that are trying to find ways to kind of push past that curtain, that glass ceiling, so to speak. If you could kind of speak to that, because obviously now you're dealing in huge industry, Vandy camps and huge distribution centers with large facilities. I'm sure it wasn't just one meeting that you had, or maybe it was. What was that turning point or the beginning of that turning point?
My education was high school. My education past high school has literally been school of hard knocks. We quickly were able to accelerate from $400,000 a year to just short of $1 million a year, and nothing internally needed to change to do that. All I had to do was work harder. Reaching the levels up from that, when you go, into a $3 million a year or $10 million a year, I made those steps unprepared for it, and paid the price. So I think having business knowledge. In other words, I knew how to run plumbing and electrical and dig ditches and pour concrete, but having a sense of how to conduct business was my weak point.
Yeah.
And so you make those steps, and when your infrastructure is not prepared for that, the end of the year, the smoke clears and the dust clears, and you did $3 million worth of work, and it only cost you $3.2 million. And so for anybody, I would say slow, steady, calculated steps. Yes, you got to push your envelope. Yes, you got to push your comfort level to get there. And then one of the things I think that's also important is, again, surround yourself, know what your limitations are, know what you're lacking in, and bring in people that fill those voids. It's when I had a proper management system, construction management system. It's when I had a proper accounting and office management and so it took all those pieces together. And, today we can do $10+ million jobs as easy as, we did $1 million jobs.
Right.
But it's a process.
Yeah, and I'm sure part of it is a bit of a gamble, right? Like you said, you gotta build for it, right? So at the point where you purchased that construction management software, I'm sure it was kind of like a, hey man, this is a lot of money kind of decision. We better get the business to back this up. But you wouldn't have got that business unless you were efficient enough, which you needed that software. So it's kind of putting those, if I'm hearing you right, it's putting some of those things in place that will allow you to grow versus growing to a point where you think you can afford them before you put them into place.
There has to be risk. There's, it's interesting. I have a couple of friends, and they love to go to Vegas and gamble. And I said, you like to gamble? You really enjoy gambling? I said, go get your contractor's license. Go get your contractor's license. I said that Vegas is for sissies. Go get your contractor's license and look at some, 10 pieces of paper. Tell a man what it's going to cost him to do the job.
And there's then do it. Yeah.
There's some guts.
Yep.
Yeah. So having the pieces in place. Yes, it's the old story. You got to spend money to make money. Whether it's tools, whether it's equipment, whether it's the infrastructure of your, being able to manage your projects.
Right.
The nice part about it is now, compared to when I started, is it's all on the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't have the internet.
The information's out there if you want to look for it.
You can Google it. Oh my God, you can YouTube it. And so we live in a world where the information is at your fingertips. So I think the ability to advance is
it's probably light years ahead of where you were.
Yeah.
So kind of talk a little bit about the situation that we're in right now, or knock on wood, slowly coming out of. I have to imagine, going back to you mentioning that, the business you're in, specifically the niche you're in, is kind of recession proof. I have to imagine that from a construction standpoint, you guys didn't really slow down as much or see it much of a hiccup at all over the last couple months.
Well, there is.
Yeah.
Only because what happens is your, what I call your end users. So let's take Subway sandwiches. They get their meat from 3 or 4 different sources. Roast beef, pastrami, corned beef, what have you. And so the end user, Subway, is saying, hey, if you want to continue during this pandemic, if you want to continue supplying me with roast beef and corned beef and pastrami, what are you doing to make sure that food you're bringing me is safe? So a lot of the processors are having to first kind of step back and get their own house in order.
Mm.
Okay. So from Pacino Foods, who makes a lot of roast beefs and pastrami's, to Cruce Meats, they're having to get their own affairs in order with their end user
Right.
before they can bring any outsources in for doing work in the plant. Yeah.
So have you guys seen anything? What's changed from a construction standpoint on the stuff that you guys are doing? I mean, I have to imagine, I know OSHA's come out with some new regulations as far as job site safety and some other things, but are there some things that have gone beyond that because you're in food service?
Well, there has for us. There's guidelines and procedures for general contractors working in this COVID-19 pandemic. There's the sanitation procedures, the social distancing, the washing of the hands. We've taken it quite a bit further, because your job site may have outhouses, and it may have hand wash stations that everybody on the job site's using. So we've got safety policies in place for I think it's every 3 hours of sanitizing the bathrooms and sanitizing the guys are wearing masks on the job. The means and methods have slowed down a little bit because not everybody's working in the same hole.
Right.
Your plumbers, you move them over here on the left, and you move your electricians over here on the right, and so it's slowed it down a little bit. But in the food industry, so now you step into an ongoing food processing facility. And so what we have implemented, and it's part of our hazard awareness and critical control points, how do we make ourselves safe for entering your facility? And so through our procedures that are all spelled out, written out, and implemented, then we have the companies, whether it's carry ingredients or the food processors, that are seeing the steps we've taken to make sure that anybody from my company or any of my subcontractors entering their facility are safe.
Yeah. So it's just,
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. So obviously they're just adding more steps and more things you guys play as you go through this process. Yeah. One more thing to manage for you all.
Well, and I know you guys are working multiple states as well, right? And I imagine just from what I'm hearing on the news and seeing out there, that each state kind of has their own set of rules. And is that something that you guys are you just kind of finding the most stringent state and applying those standards to all projects, or how's that working for you guys?
Yes, we're from California.
I don't want to say it.
Yes, we have set our procedures in place because it's not just for our clients' protection; it's also for our people's protection.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, no, we've taken the absolute most stringent. In fact, I have found myself. It's interesting. I have found myself in a couple positions, going through, looking at some work, doing some due diligence for a client, that all of a sudden I didn't feel comfortable with their methods. And so I had to draw a line and basically kind of put my foot down and say, this is our procedures and we can't step below those. I need you guys to raise your bar.
Right.
Yeah.
How well was that received?
Actually, very well.
That's good.
Yeah, actually,
I think it's kind of one of those things where, somebody,
if you want the business,
and nobody wants to be the guy girl, whatever, that's out there, making people uncomfortable, right? So,
well, we're in a world, and you guys, I know, are in that business. We're in the world of litigation.
Yeah.
And any reason, to get an attorney to run out to your job site. So it's important for our client, and it's important for my people, that we take every precaution there is to make sure that it's a safe work environment for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's smart. That's, like you said, the litigation is reason enough to be above and beyond.
Right.
A lot of times we ask this question of contractors, and it seems to kind of point back towards employees. But I would imagine, because you kind of have a smaller, probably closer knit, higher level employee that's working for you. You know what I mean? You don't have the labor guy. You got more of the, your project manager and supervisors. But what are some of the daily objections or hurdles that you got to get it past or clear or kind of confront on a daily basis?
Well, again, being a California contractor, just the construction industry itself has just got so many layers of regulations now. Good news is it makes it tougher for somebody to come into competition or for a competitor.
Yeah.
The bad news is I feel like half my time I spend going through the next hoop.
Yeah.
And that becomes even more complicated when you're in such an industry as the food industry.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine.
The regulations that come out, we do a lot of work for, let's say, a company like Carry Ingredients. Now, Carry Ingredients is a worldwide food company, and their book of rules and regulations are that thick. It sometimes can be not overwhelming, but it can be a daunting task of getting yourself in line with that company's policies and procedures and safety, and some of the insurances we're being asked for now in order to be able to go in and work for some of these companies. It's a crazy the amount of money and the amount of coverage we're having to carry.
Yeah. Is that something that you are taking on yourself because there is that liability there to make sure you're meeting all those regulations and those coverages and all that kind of stuff? Or do you guys have a team that helps you out there? Or?
So far, we do it in-house, not me. I mean, I go through it just so I can get an overall
high-level overview of it. Yeah.
High-level overview of it. And then I have staff that takes care of putting what's needed together, whether it's documents, whether it's internal procedures or what have you, to meet those criteria.
I feel like they almost need a law degree looking through some of these regulations.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But the nice part is for instance, we also do some medical. So we have a company, BioSense Webster. Even if they want some painting done in the office, even if they want a doorknob changed, so they'll call a little contractor out to price up painting the office, price up the doorknob, and then they'll turn around and call us and ask us if we can run that painter or that guy through us because we have the policies and procedures in place to do it. This little painter or this little door company couldn't get there.
Yeah.
So they'll end up running anybody that does work there, they'll run it through us. We get our overhead and profit marked up on it because it's easier to go through us because we have everything in place already than to try to train a new,
contractor on building.
So this guy comes to you then and you let him know, hey, these are the way these things need to be done when you go in this office and this is how it works, and kind of give him
we'll literally put a superintendent on the job site. And I don't care if that's all they're doing is painting the wall. We have to have a safety supervisor on site.
Right.
Making sure the guys are showing up with no holes in their pants.
Right.
Steel-toed boots on, got their hard hat, got their safety glasses. They're not walking in chewing gum. So it's a value to those companies to have us managing even their small contractors.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah.
And most of those small contractors couldn't get the insurance coverage. We're carrying $10 to $15 million of liability with everybody, additionally insured and all the coverages and stuff.
Yeah.
So as long as it runs under our umbrella, it's easier for the client and it's probably easier for the contractor.
Yeah, no, for sure.
How often are you running into a situation like that where, kind of circling back to what you mentioned before, in terms of maybe not doing well with certain subcontractors, how often are you running into a situation where they bring on a sub, price it out, check it out, and then they call you into the project to actually manage? Have you ever come across a situation where you've had to fire that sub and bring somebody else on, or any kind of issues like that at all? Or are these guys that you've worked with continually in the past?
The companies that are, calling a painter to come in, they've already gone through and done a pretty good job of vetting out those guys. So we haven't, as of right now, knock on my table.
Yeah, right. Knock on wood.
We'll help you.
We haven't had a bad situation yet.
Okay. So it's not, yeah. So it's not like it's just flung together. It sounds like that there is a procedure prior to you guys even stepping in. So, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And yes, do we have the guy that walks on the job with an 8-foot ladder and he's got to get 16 feet up in the air? And no, sir, you're going to go out and get yourself a 12-foot ladder. Yeah, that happens.
I saw a picture on Instagram the other day of a guy that had about two 8-foot ladders that were crisscrossed with each other, and he's getting to the top, and everybody's shaking their head. Man,
I had to run to the bank the other day, and right across the way they're building a restaurant, and I'm looking up, and there's a man, and it's 2-story, he literally 30 feet off the ground, and he's standing on the edge of the roof. It's just wood. Right now it's wood framed, it's plywood sheeted, and he's standing on the edge, hammer and nails, and he's bending over and he's nailing literally on the edge of the roof, and he is not safetied off at all.
Yeah.
So I take a picture, right? So then as I'm leaving the bank in my truck, I drive around and I realize there's not even a roof. He is standing on the edge of a wall. The roof's not there yet. And I took another picture, and I've got him. I can send him to you, but I'm looking at that and I'm going, are you kidding? Are you kidding? And so now here's a guy that was probably thought that that's the way it is. I do this every day. I don't want to, safety thing. I've been doing this for 100 years, but oh my goodness, if it was incredible to see.
Yeah. 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 No, we've seen similar things being, and not necessarily for work. I mean, I remember one particular time we were all going out to lunch, and so we're down in South Orange County. The Irvine company is big, and we saw an apartment complex being built, and there was scaffolding up the side, and one guy crawls outside of the scaffolding and Jimmy's his way up the ladders. Not even a ladder, right? He's just climbing
the
up
rungs
exactly to the next story. Not harnessed in, and you're thinking this is the Irvine company. So if anybody with the Irvine company is listening, you might want to check out your subs.
Right. But it's interesting because back in the day, I remember running across glulam beams that were 30 feet in the air. I remember we used to do a lot of work for like liquid carbonics and what have you, setting their big, huge CO2 tanks, 60, 40-foot tall tanks. And so the crane would lift it up and set it down. And then they would lower their other ball down to the ground. I would wrap my legs around it, and he would lift me all the way up to the top of that thing so I could undo the hook. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. Go ahead and do it now.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it now. Yeah.
Let's see what happens, right?
Oh my goodness. I mean, some of the stuff that we used to do back in the day, I'm still alive. I made it.
Yeah. Well, now they have all those regulations because the one guy that didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he ruined it for the rest of us. Yeah.
So kind of looking forward, what does your forecast look like for the future as far as, your company? Are you looking to grow more? Are you comfortable where you're at? Maybe a different niche, or where are you headed?
I'm just about at a point I'm ready to, I may sell the company. I may probably still stay on as a consultant.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know that I should be saying this out loud, but I am anyway. But what I would love to do is I'd love to find somebody to pass the torch to.
Yeah.
And what's a bummer is I've got 3 boys. Ain't none of them interested.
No associates, huh?
No associates, no. And my oldest son, who's 36, is a nurse. My middle son after that is a motorhead, and my youngest son is in college, and they really expressed no interest in it. So A, I'm either gonna maybe find somebody to pass the torch to, or B, I still love it. I still love what I do. And so
well, your youngest is still in college. He still has no idea what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's
you might
right.
have there, so.
Right. Yeah. Well, now he's not in college. He's online.
Yeah.
That's
right.
true. Yeah.
Well, so just stepping sideways, that's exactly how this company started, right? The guy that owned it, his sons told him through high school and even into college,
Not interested.
We hate insurance.
Yeah.
We don't like it. We don't want to do it. No chance. And then they both graduated USC, Oldest one went into it. I guess he kind of had a little bit of interest when he was done with college. The youngest was like, well, I guess I got nothing else to do. I'll go work for dad's company for a little bit. And then here they are.
Running the company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. We're in a time currently that learning a trade is a hot tip right now.
Huge. Yeah.
I mean, you go to college, you come out, you've got student debt, not sure what your degree is in, but going to a trade school, becoming a welder, a journeyman plumber, a journeyman electrician, you can make bank.
Yeah. Right out of school too.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, I love what I do, and who knows, but I still wake up every morning excited, about what I get to do. I never punch the same time clock. It's always challenging. Every customer, every job's different. That's what's cool about construction. And so, I'll probably do it till someday they pick me up going, Glenn, what happened to him?
Hopefully that's not for a while. You got a nice little retirement plan though, if you need to, right?
Yeah. So I saw on your list of stuff, I guess you're kind of going through it. So anyway, go ahead. I was just
no, you're good.
No, go ahead. What do you got for us?
Well, it was
a lot better when this is a lot easier and it's a lot more entertaining when you run the show. Not us.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to hear
it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny. One of the questions on your list is tell us your story. Tell us something that happened on the job.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I since you said that, I'm going, gosh, where does it start? I mean, I've been through so much. It was interesting, some of the jobs we've taken on. My dad, we have a saying on our wall, and it says, we the willing, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We've done so much for so long. We're now qualified to do anything with nothing. And it's funny, we'll pull off this, and we have a reputation for taking on the jobs that nobody else wants. Even my subs say, "Oh, what are we doing now?" But that's the challenge.
Yeah.
That to me is the fun stuff. Take on the one that everybody says you can't do that. And my dad used to say, the impossible just takes a little longer. And the other kind of cute thing he used to say is, we can do the impossible as long as your checkbook holds out. But yeah, so it's funny. There was a company here we did a lot of work for, is a steak and poultry company, and they decided they wanted to relocate to Oklahoma, and so we did all the design development for them, and got it approved, got it ready to break ground, stuff like that. And this gentleman and I have known each other many years, and so we had become friends, and so we're getting ready to ink the deal, sign the contract, move forward with the project. And sitting in his office, and I was just talking to him that I had just had a really cool weekend. My wife and I had gone skydiving and stuff like that. Yeah. And so that held up
and you made it to the next meeting, so that's good.
Well, but that actually held up the job for a week, because he had his attorneys write into the contract that I wouldn't go skydiving while I was doing his job.
Whoops.
Honest to goodness. Put it in the contract. He said, you go skydiving after you're done with my job. I do quite a bit of work, or had done quite a bit of work for Bumblebee.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually Bumblebee Seafood, and also for Chicken of the Sea. And so years back, and I'll have to look, gosh, how many years back it was, we had been contacted by the senior vice president of Chicken of the Sea, and they were investigating about building a tuna facility over in Papua New Guinea. And apparently there was a family over in New Guinea that had sent their son here to go to business school, decided to take his education back to New Guinea. The largest export out of New Guinea at the time was coffee. And so he took this company that had been corrupted over the years, turned it around to being a profitable company. So anyway, he started looking outside of that, and right off the coast of New Guinea is actually the largest tuna spawning grounds in the world. And what would happen was the Taiwanese fishing fleet would come over, and when the boats were full, they had to go all the way back to Taiwan. So he had got with Chicken of the Sea and had gotten with Bumblebee about potentially building a tuna loining facility right there in New Guinea so that the ships, once they're full, the boats are full, they could just offload right there in New Guinea. And so I got a call one day from the senior vice president of Chicken of the Sea, and he says, guess where I'm sending you now? And a few weeks later, we had put together a due diligence and feasibility of could we potentially build a tuna facility over in New Guinea, and what was that going to look like? And so my wife actually went with me, and 26 hours of flying. We had the senior vice president of Chicken of the Sea with us. We had engineering from Bumblebee with us, and flew into Sydney, Australia, and from Sydney, Australia to Brisbane, and from Brisbane to Port Moresby. Each time we're landing, the next plane we get on smaller
and smaller.
Right? Yeah. So finally, we go from Port Moresby, which is the capital of Papua New Guinea, and we flew over to the other side of the island, which is a little town called Wewak, and that's where we started our adventure. So anyway, what we were looking for is one, deep enough water that we could bring the fishing boats in. Two, property that was close enough to shore that and flat enough and level enough, what have you, that we could build a new facility. And then the third thing we were looking for was where are we going to find water and where are we going to get power. And so now New Guinea is the only place left known in the world to still have cannibalism.
Dang.
Yes. And so the last plane we were on coming into Wewak, it was like an 8-seater. The control tower was a card table and a plastic chair right next to a 3-foot high chain link fence, and the runway was gravel.
Nice.
Yeah. And the whole chain link fence was lined up with Aborigines. Literally, I'm talking in full headdress, spears. It looked like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to know National Geographic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, there we were. And the minute the plane touched down and stopped, and they danced around the plane and welcomed us to the land, and yeah, right. I'm looking like the other white meat. But anyway, and we had an armed guard with us. We actually had to have an armed guard with us because we're going through the jungle looking for streams, lakes, water, where we're going to get water from, stuff like that. Coolest trip ever. We had dinner that night with the man whose picture is on the money.
No kidding.
Jeez. Yeah. And, a Reader's Digest version is I actually had to expand my offices here in Pomona. I had to expand them 800 square feet. I had to add a big conference room. I had to add 2 private offices for the executive from Bumblebee and the executive from Chicken of the Sea. We designed it all completely in-house. I sent a project manager, superintendent over. We interviewed contractors from all over the world to build it. We selected a contractor out of New Zealand, and we just oversaw and managed it. And it's an amazing facility. It employs 2,000 local workers.
Wow.
On the side of an island that had nothing.
Yeah.
The facility is doing 200 metric tons of tuna per day.
Dang, jeez.
Right. So now all they're doing is they're taking it from a whole fish, they're boning it, they're making the loins, and then they're freezing it. And so now when it's shipped over to the United States, because it's not a finished product, there's no duties, no tariffs and stuff like that.
Wow.
So then it comes over to the canneries. Yeah. And that was like the coolest trip of my life. It was very, very cool.
That's crazy.
That's a cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. If you Google South Seas tuna, you can see all the stories on it.
How long did it take to kind of complete that?
We were about 2 years total. Part of it was it got held up because the money got sideways. The value of the dollar versus the value of the kina, and all of a sudden our purchasing power became less.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But about 2 years, and you can Google it. You can see pictures of it and stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Yeah.
That is great.
And people say, why do you take that? I said, why
Because
not?
now I got the story. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
You only live once, right?
Right. Well, I mean, some of the stuff we got to do while we were there, see, there was nothing there. So we actually had to set up almost like an entire MASH unit,
Yeah.
everything from housing for the contractors, place to store and make meals and food for the contractors, place for them to bed, and medical in case somebody got hurt and stuff. So we actually had to set up a mobile,
like a little city almost. Yeah.
city. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Fun stuff. Well, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, that's fun.
Stuff. That's my payday.
Right?
Yeah. Somebody said you can't do it. I said, sure I can.
Yeah.
As long as your checkbook.
I was gonna say, how many zeros you feel like writing? How many zeros you got?
Oh my goodness. And then
very cool.
Yeah. So we've had some really fun stuff over the years, and I you know what? If I had it all to do it again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Construction is what I compare to construction, and this is really strange that I do, but is food. I love to cook. That's my other passion.
Yeah.
But in a sense, okay, I've got to go to the pantry and I get my materials, and I go to the refrigerator and I get all my materials, and then I get my tools out. And when I'm done, I've made something for other people.
Yep.
So it's very parallel. I get the same satisfaction out of food as I do construction. And so apparently I do food construction.
It worked out, right?
It did.
Very cool. Well, we'll let you run and get on with your day. We appreciate your time. Before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity to kind of let people know where to find you. So.
Well, real quick, and you tell me if I'm wrong, okay? I started this totally separate business. My purpose for starting it was as a contractor. One of my toughest things I always have to deal with is getting materials, tools, and supplies to a job site.
Yeah.
You're either trying to get somebody, Mary in the office, could you run down and, or Joe in the office, or you have somebody leaving a job site, to go get a tool or some materials. You're a little bit short on this, a little bit short on that. So we've now been in operation 4 years, my new company, and that's what we do. An easy way to explain it, it's like Uber, but we don't drive people, we drive people's stuff. And it's worked really well in the construction industry for getting tools, materials, and equipment literally delivered to your job site on demand, same day when you need
Very
it.
cool.
Sounds like Amazon Prime now, but for contractors.
Yeah. So it's the company name is called Ezer, and it's getezer.com. It's free to download, free to set up you can either put it on your smartphone, or you can actually go on your computer and type in Ezer, GETEZER, getezer.com. We have probably 8 of our subcontractors that are using it. They're on their job site and they realize, oh shoot, they forgot the air compressor or the generator at their shop, or somebody ran over the air hose and they need a new air hose. Somebody running over to Home Depot or to Whitecap, or you ran short of some conduit. You got electricians standing there waiting for somebody to get materials to the job site. And so this is a real simple way where there's tons of drivers. You can literally have materials to your job site in minutes. And so it's free to set up your account, easy to use. And so I'm plugging it, but as
that's an awesome concept. Yeah.
We'll plug it for you.
Yeah.
As a contractor, it's like the coolest thing that, and it started on a whole different deal. My wife and I, one day driving to a movie, and we're coming up on this yard sale. These people had this beautiful outdoor patio set for sale, and $50. And so we pull over in my Mini Cooper, and we love the thing, but we said, but how do we get home?
Yeah.
How do we get home? And I said, wouldn't it be cool if there was an app like Uber where you just press a button on your phone and it finds a truck around you, and the truck pulls up and it loads it and takes it home for you? And that's where it started. And it's really more developed into businesses. And of course, being a contractor, I just have found it to be amazing. Need a job, you need a door on a job site, boom, it's there in 30 minutes, and you don't have to send one of your people. You don't have to pay an employee. It's not your truck. You don't have all the warranty and the insurance and liability. Yeah. So it's cool. So anyway.
How far out from the LA area are you guys?
We're all over Southern California completely. We're in Arizona. We're in Las Vegas. We're in Houston.
wow.
We're in Chicago, Minneapolis, and Florida.
Wow.
Very
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. Well, you
Started
got the
out right here,
branding
though.
for it too.
Huh?
I was going to say, you already got the branding for it. So I imagine that you've got some sort of process for the company already in place, but that's cool.
I started developing the app back in October of 2015. We went live in May of 2016. And then over the past 4 years, you update it, you grow
Right,
it, you enhance it, and you put all these things in there for people to make it easier to use and stuff like that. So,
Right.
Very cool.
So awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Well, I enjoyed it, and you guys, good luck. I'm sure your business is quite busy.
Yeah.
And
Sure
and
is.
I think this podcast thing you're doing, I think it's very, very cool.
Well,
we
thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Glenn.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
It's more about you guys bringing people on and sharing the stories. So it's
All right, man. Have a good
fun.
one.
Thanks,
All right,
Glenn.
thanks,
Have a good
Glenn.
one.
You bet.
Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.